And we begin.
All right.
What's up, Facebook? Brandon Orr, Reclaiming Lives Recovery Cafe. I'm here with a super duper good friend of mine. He not only is my friend, but he's a mentor. He seen something in me that I obviously didn't see in myself. When I was in Oxford and I was helping mentor houses, Oxford House Living, look it up, you guys can find it if you want to, but when I was mentoring houses, he asked me one time, he said, hey, why don't you get your peer support? I said, what the hell's a peer support? And he discussed a little bit with me, and I did it, and it became something not only that I'm good at, but I value. His name's Justin Hahn. He is a mentor to many. I don't want to blow his head up because it's easy to do, but he's a big deal in our recovery community. He's got how many years clean now?
8
in a row.
In a row.
Holy crap! So he's got 8
holidays.
He's got 8 years clean. He's helped out many a men and a couple women out there too. He just pretty much gives back, and he just doesn't stop. He's also a circle leader at the Medford location Recovery Cafe. Been there. He's the one that actually helped me get along, and we've been doing it since day one. So without further ado, my boy Justin Hahn. What's up, brother?
Hi, I'm Justin.
How you doing?
Feel good.
What's been going on with you lately?
Working a lot, man. Doing the life.
He also has 4 kids. Married man.
That too, yeah.
Full-time job, double positions.
Yeah.
He doesn't stop. I'm just going to jump right into this because it's fascinating to me. When did you realize that giving back and helping people was something that you were going to be good at?
I guess my first time doing any kind of volunteer work was when I was initially getting clean in the beginning, and I didn't have nothing to do during the day, right? I couldn't get a job. I couldn't do anything because of my record, right? So I was like, I want to do something, so I started volunteering in food pantries, and going
At
to...
food pantries?
Yeah, at Set Free Ministries, and so I just started helping make food boxes, and I just felt fulfilled at that moment in my life, and I felt valued that, giving back is where I got fulfillment, and so it transitioned from there. I just kept moving forward. Well, what can I do next? So then I started volunteering at events, whether it was softball tournaments for rock recovery or, just every agency, Max's Mission.
Love you, Max Mission.
Yeah, truly do. And that's where I found my new identity, right? And I wanted to be of service, and I was doing it in 12-step meetings, but I truly loved watching people flourish and grow, and that's what's kept me on the path of being where I'm at today. So,
did you think that when you first got clean, this is something you'd be doing?
Honestly, I didn't think, as addicts we sell ourselves short, right? So we automatically have these preconceived notions that we're not going to be anything, we're not going to be able to excel because of our past, right?
Right.
And that's our biggest weight on our shoulders, is we let that hold us down. But the truth is if you put as much time as you do your recovery as you did in your addiction, you're able to excel even further. I just put in half of what I put in my addiction and my recovery, and I've just been able to flourish because I was full-blown dope fiend, 24/7. That was my job, that was my thing, and
like most of us.
I just took a piece of that, and I started investing that in myself, whether it was in trainings, getting to know myself further, communicating with community partners, what can I do, where do I fit in, and I was always willing to go the extra mile to help these entities, whatever it was,
Especially entities that helped you along the way, right?
Yeah, and that was another thing, I didn't know, I was stubborn and selfish, right? I didn't like asking for help. But as I got clean, I realized that it was okay to ask for help, because I'm not going to know all the answers,
Right.
So I started breaking down that wall that I had, that male privilege, that ego, and I would seek help, and I would ask for support. Hey man, I don't know what I'm doing here. you know. And one of my mentors is the director of community justice, Eric Geyer, you know, and I could pick that dude's brain, you know, and you know, get different.
And you can do it for the rest of your life. It's so tricky.
Yeah, that man has a knowledge base like no other, you know, and I've been able to branch out, you know, from him, and be able to utilize other entities,
Right.
To talk to them, you know, when different things come up, you know, and get different perspectives, you know, and I think that was one of the best things that helped me succeed, was being open-minded and willing to look at things in a different perspective. So,
You know, it's good. So he just nailed something out there, you guys, that find a mentor, find somebody that has something you want and latch on and learn. I do that with Stephanie personally. He does it with Eric. You know, we find people that, because we didn't grow up knowing that these chances were going to be even available to us. We learned it along the way once we got clean. Do you remember the day of your last use?
I do, yeah. I can still remember every minute of that day.
Can you tell a little bit about it?
So the last day of my use,
And how you knew it was enough?
you know, that day is the day that has kept me clean. Because I don't ever want to be that person, but I remember I was filing off serial numbers off this stolen compressor I had just stole, and I thought I was going to, you know, make a lot of money, you know, off this compressor or whatever, you know. And
Off a compressor.
off a compressor, yeah. And so I'm just going to town, you know, and so I go inside to get, you know, some water and a sandwich, and and I didn't know this, okay, but every entity that you could think of was already inside my house, from the sheriff's department, MPD and JVille PD, and DHS. They were already up in my house, and mind you, I had cameras all around my house, and I was too loaded to even pay attention to that, right? And I go in, and I got cuffed and stuffed, and they put me in the back of the cop car. And I mean, that wasn't enough, right? I've been to jail hundreds of times. Didn't care. I didn't care that my kids were being removed from my care. That didn't matter. That didn't bother me, right? I didn't have a care in the world. But what I did care about was the moment that my 3-year-old son stood in the living room outside the window as DHS is in there checking in for bruises, and the sheriff's department trying to park the house, looking for drugs, right? My 3-year-old son, he's screaming out the window, please don't take my Nolan, sorry. He's like, please don't take my daddy. He's a good daddy. He doesn't beat us or spank us. He feeds us and he takes care of us. For that first time in my life was the moment of clarity for me, right? I had a moment of clarity that my son, my 3-year-old son, was justifying my actions and my behaviors, to co-sign my BS, to get me out of trouble. At that moment, I knew if I didn't do something different, that he was going to turn out just like me. So I started yelling and screaming, and at DHS and the cops, you know, come out here, you know, and I told him, you know, I said, this is how I parent, you know, I laid it down to him. I said, this is where the drugs are, you know, just take me to jail. My kids don't need to be involved in my life whatsoever. I need to be in an institution. I just need to be taken away from them. That's the only thing that's going to save their life. And so they took me to jail, and that's where my journey began, you know, and I did something different this time, right? So typically when I would go to jail, I would go click up the homies, hey bro, what's up, dog, you know, and who's got the line on smokes, you know, and all that stuff, you know. I didn't do any of that.
Oh, that jailhouse topic, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that this time, right? I did something different. I isolated myself, I started reading books, trying to get to know myself, you know, and I wanted to learn something different, but I didn't know how. And at that first week, I was too scared to ask for help, right? And so I just isolated, you know, and I told everybody else, you know, I don't want nothing to do with you, I'm good, you know, I know the end result, right? I'm going to end up back here. And, you know, everybody was like, you know, do your thing, man, do whatever, you know, and I was like, I believe I'm going to, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to do me.
And so I ended up going out to their work center, you know, and I started my journey out there, you know, and I begged and pleaded to go to treatment. And
was Eric Geyer still out there?
Eric was still out there, yeah. And, you know, I felt really discouraged because it felt like I wasn't being taken seriously in regards to me wanting to go to treatment, right? Because I had this preset track record that I set in place of failure. that they'd given me opportunity after opportunity to go to treatment, and every time I just blew them off. It was either to get out of a jail sentence or get DHS off my back or to get my probation officer off my back. That's the only reason I wanted to engage with services, right? But this time I was wanting to do it for myself. So the services were apprehensive of like, why are we going to give you another chance? You've already been through residential 3 times.
And you manipulated it every single time.
And I manipulated the hell out of it, right? Broke every rule, tried to justify, oh, you can't smoke pot in here. I didn't know that, And, but this time I actually wanted it, right? And I wanted it for a different reason. I wanted it for myself, not for an entity. And that was a key component. And the rock bottom for me was my son.
Oof.
In that window while I was in the back of the cop car, and I never want my sons to ever have to go through that ever again, right? So
thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Sometimes everybody's rock bottom looks a little different. Not everybody's journey is exactly the same, but I have to commend you for recognizing it when it was there, because that's a pivotal moment that I believe wholeheartedly turned you into the man you are today. Justin, I've watched you put yourself out there, string yourself tired. I've seen you not give up and want to give up. I've seen you love. You're a father. You do. How long were you on parole and probation for?
Shoot, since I was like 10, so like 17 years.
So 2 of your kids definitely remember all of that.
Oh yeah.
And 2 of your kids never have to see you that way again.
Yeah.
Right? And do you think, is that one of the reasons why you help the men with kids so much? Because I see you do that. I see you help, well, besides Mikey, our boy, I see you help men that have kids the most.
Yeah. I mean, no child should ever have to experience their parents suffering from substance use disorder, right?
Right.
But it's not the child's choice of who their parents are. And
they didn't come in this world saying, I'll pick you.
If I can share my experience with a father to where his kids don't have to go and live with those experiences that I put my children through, I'll do that any day, right? So I have a son that's almost 19, and I have a 17-year-old, and they remember it vividly of the times that I was pulled off from their bed, and I was cuffing stuff on numerous occasions inside the house, And my younger two, they just hear the stories from their older brothers, right, of who I was. They see the man I am today, and they're like, they don't believe it, you know what I mean? They're like, what, whatever, And
it's still hard to fathom kind of thing.
Yeah, and as a parent, it's been hard for me to build my relationship with my 2 older kids because of the chaos that I put them through while they were young, right? And it's really hard, right? I want the best for my kids, and I want to show them the way to be successful, and they're like, well, you weren't, when you were our age, you were doing this, and, it can be challenging, right? So
I appreciate you, man. You're a good dad. I mean, when I first got clean, which I have a little over 3 years, it's like, I tried to find something or someone that had what I wanted, and Justin, you had that. With 8 years clean, days and nights, what is your proudest moment? Any minute now.
Shoot, that's a tough one, man. Like, there have been so many.
Can you give us a couple good ones? Some examples for the viewers that are kind of struggling?
Yeah, so when I was getting clean, right, I was unemployable and stuff like that, and nobody wanted to hire me. So I went through the Goodwill Jobs program, and
Goodwill Jobs program.
I put everything into that, right? Mind you, I had a no contact order with that agency at that time because during my addiction, I was committing crimes on their property. So they were apprehensive of letting me on the property. So I met a job coach there, and I would show up an hour before Goodwill would open because I was living in Jacksonville. I didn't have a license at the time, and I was taking the bus. And the bus would drop me off there every morning at 7. They didn't open up until 8. So I'd have to stand outside. Rain, snow, or shine, I would stand out there. Whether I would get soaking wet or snowed on or whatever, and I would wait for them to open, right? And so then they finally started seeing my commitment. They were like, holy shit. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. No, you can. You can cuss, just don't drop F-bombs.
Yeah, they were like, this guy is super committed. And so the staff, they were like, you know what, you can come in the break room until the computer labs are open and stuff. And, you know, so I was able to show my commitment to them, right? That I wanted something different, but I just didn't know how. And so I got a jobs coach and all that, and she worked with me vigorously to help me get employed. And I would just go to interview after interview, turn in application after application. I would do the interview. They found out about my criminal history, and they were like, yeah, sorry. Or they would look, and I had my criminal history, and I would just be put to the bottom of the pile. And every time I was rejected, right? And I was getting super discouraged, and I felt disregarded and undervalued and worthless and all this stuff. How am I going to support my family? What's the point of staying clean if nothing's going to change? I'm always going to be, you know, recognized as this dope fiend felon that's going to be unemployable, right? And an employer, Coke and Oil, they recognized me as a AG. No, and they were like, we'll give you this opportunity, and so they hired me, and then Goodwill contacts me, and hey, we would like to give you this award. So this is one of my defining moments in my life that I truly felt super valued. I felt like I was on this golden pedestal, right? So they were like, we would like to give you this award. We don't know if you're going to get it or not, but we definitely want to put your name in as a runner-up, right? As the Inspirational Person of the Year for Jackson County. And I was
Inspirational Person of the Year.
Yeah, so they put me in this thing. There was a few other people, and so they did that, and I became the Inspirational Person of the Year for Jackson County in 2015, and I won this plaque. It's glass. I mean, it's legit, like, right? And I'm just feeling on top of the world. And then they called me, and they were like, so what would you think if we put you in for this award, for the GII award? It's a national thing.
What's GII stand for?
I don't know what it stands for, but it Goodwill Industries International, I think it is.
Okay.
So they put me in for that, and with winning that, you go to DC for like 6 days.
DC for 6 days?
And you meet with congressmen that represent your state.
Wow.
And so I honestly didn't think that I would have won that whatsoever. And so I win the award, and they call me, and they're like, would you like to go to DC? And I'm like, yeah. And
oh yeah,
absolutely. And
send me.
They're like, but you need a suit. I've never worn a suit in my life whatsoever. So I go to Macy's, I max out my credit card, and I buy the most coolest, legitest suit you could get there, right? I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I didn't know nothing, you know.
So real quick, what'd it run?
I think it was like 17.
No,
altogether. The tie alone was $150, you know, and
that's why I mess with them.
And so I'm just looking clean, bro, clean. This is back before I had my gun, right? When everything fits smooth. And so I go to DC, and we're getting ready for this banquet, and I have my tie on, and I'm talking to the VP at the time, and I'm like, hey man, I don't know how to tie a tie. And he's like, it's good, man, I got you. So I have this super expensive tie, and he showed me how to tie a tie, and he's tying it for me. And it was just an experience of a lifetime, you know, going to DC, being able to experience that and being nominated for all these awards. But that was like the pedestal thing and the highlight so far. But then there's so many more after that, you know, being asked to be on LADPC, the Local Alcohol Drug Planning Commission, and then being asked by Goodwill to be on the board of directors, and then being on the board for Max's Mission and help planning their events. You know, so all of these things have fallen in place because I haven't given up on myself and given up on the journey and given up on where I wanted to be.
Yep.
Granted, it takes up a lot of time in my life, but it's where I want to be, right, in the future. And it's what I'm doing to give back to my community and to give back to the members that are growing in the recovery community, right?
Do you, here it goes, you ready? What'd you spend more time on? Getting high or doing what you're doing right now, right?
Getting high. That's
you know what I mean? So really, this is super necessary, and you can super make valuable time out of it, right?
Yeah.
So there's a message in that right there, you guys. There's a message in there right now that no matter where you're at in your recovery, whether you got 10 days clean, whether you got 20 days clean, whether you got a year clean, and you're stuck at a point where you're like, I don't know how to move any farther. What do?
Keep moving forward, man.
Don't give up and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
The world is out there, you know, for people like you and I and Justin, and who really have rap sheets that are the size of Moby Dick, dude, that just, you know, people want to give you a chance if you're willing to give yourself a chance. Don't give up on yourself, man. There's a silver lining at the end of it. Justin, you've been a friend of mine through all this. I said at the beginning, you are one of my mentors. You push me along. You push the hell out of me, too. Sometimes my buttons. But if there's somebody out there right now that doesn't know how to pick up the phone, that doesn't know how to reach out, that is unsure how or why, or is feeling broken, and they walked up to you right now, what words would you use?
I mean, I think I would just let them know that it'll be okay, you know, like, hey, I'm here for you when you're ready, you know, and just share a little bit about myself with them, and let them know the options that are available, whether, I know for me personally, like, I was closed off, and I was uncomfortable talking to people. I sat in the back of 12-step meetings for a long time, and I didn't open my mouth. I was too uncomfortable. You know, I just sat there and listened, right? And sometimes when you listen is when you get your answers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay if you're afraid to pick up that 1,000-pound brick and reach out and give that call. But what I found what was easy for me was to shoot a text, you know, because I was uncomfortable talking, and I didn't want to be caught in a moment, you know what I mean? So shooting that quick text, we're just like, hey man, my rear end's falling off, what do I do? You know, and I wouldn't be so vulnerable, and, you know, it was more impersonal that way for me, because I was afraid to let the cat out of the bag of the things I was suffering through, you know. And I had men in my life that were always there for me and to help me further my growth, and I want to be that man that I had when I was in the beginning. So,
damn, that was good. All right, you guys. Brandon Orr, Reclaiming Lives Recovery Cafe. Justin Hahn, super solid member of the recovery community. Plus, he volunteers at the cafe. We're always there if you guys need us, and we're not hard to find if not. If your ass is falling off and you can't figure out how to put it back on, give me a call. 541-890-0590. Dangerous, huh? All right, you guys, we're here with you. You got anything else for him?
thanks for watching.
All right, guys, God bless.